You are listening to Radio Ramadan 365 podcasts.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, Shaykh Saab. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Chapter 17.
Yeah.
Outwardly sober and inwardly intoxicated. In this chapter, Shaykh Saab, you talk about the dilemma that most folk who want to be spiritual experience, the dilemma of being authentic and having to be compliant also. How do you see this struggle, and if it's even a struggle?
You're asking about this kind of apparent dilemma of being authentic, in a sense, true to oneself, and then at the same time, complying to sort of what's required of you. And there seems to be a contradiction there. And I think, it is that sense of struggle, I think, is real for many people, but for all of us, actually. But it's the product of a certain level of one's understanding. If one wants to be spiritual, you often imagine that authenticity means to express whatever arises within. And compliance means to betray that either in a truth in order to fit your kind of the expectations of the world or the expectations of religion. This kind of creates a tension. It's almost like there's a split between my inward need and my outward kind of what's required of me outwardly. And if what you call authenticity is purely an insistence, opinions and my sensitivities have to kind of be recognized, then I don't think that's authenticity at all. I think that is reacting from one's of identity, one sense of nafs, one sense of self. If what you call compliance is merely bending in fear of rejection or loss, that's also self. Both are concerned with preserving a self-image, and both are kind of, if you like, intoxicated with it, connected with the idea of me, myself. Outward sobriety and inward intoxication is I think in the first instance, outward sobriety refers to what we could call adab. It means appropriateness. It means that you don't allow your inner states to spill onto the world in the name of being real. You conduct yourself with dignity and with restraint and with consideration for others. You respect the forms of the world because Allah has placed you within them. Inward intoxication means that your heart is not attached to forms. It's lost in Allah. It is softened by dhikr. It is surrendered. So outwardly you're kind of measured. You're contained and compliant, whereas inwardly you're free. It's precisely my ability to act in the very best interest of the other that produces my sense of freedom, because the other can therefore no longer withhold anything that I want. So then I'm inwardly free. So mature murid doesn't experience authenticity and compliance as opposites. When you are no longer defending yourself, there's nothing to protect. The compliance is not, in that sense, a compromise. It's service. You comply where it is appropriate because that serves harmony. And that sense of harmony is an expression of your experience that yourself and what you experience inwardly is connected with the world around you. So you speak where it's appropriate because it serves the truth. And in both cases, you're not acting to assert yourself, but to respond to what Allah is asking of you in that moment. So the real question is not, I guess the real question is, if you're acting from wounded pride, then both authenticity and compliance are distorted. If you're acting from surrender, then both becomes an expression of your. So I'm saying, sort of, in the end, if the one who is struggling begins to disappear, then the struggle itself dissolves. Then there's no distinction between outward adab and inward tawakkul. I mean, it's the same state. You're outwardly sober and inwardly intoxicated. This is not a tension. This is an expression of freedom.
Okay, thank you for that. So you said that on this path, that is cultivating a way of being that doesn't take place, that doesn't take space, but that creates space. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this, and how does that look like in everyday life?
When you construct your engagement with the world around you on the basis of what you're trying to get from life, from others,
Mm-hmm.
you're, in a sense, reaching into the world. You're reaching into the outward to get the outcomes that you want. That reaching into the world is, in a sense, you standing out. And that standing out kind of takes space. I mean, that because you tried to step in the world to get the thing that you want, the problem is that two objects can't occupy the same space. So when you're trying to step into the outward to get the outcomes that you want, you will, by definition, be competitive for space. You'll be pushing your way into the world. You'll be pushing things away from you. So there's when you're outwardly gathered, when you're trying to get stuff from the world, the degree to which you're outwardly gathered is the degree to which yourself literally appears. Yourself, your nafs, steps into the world to try and manipulate the things that you want from the world. And that stepping in from the world has a fundamentally competitive character. It is, you and I can't occupy the same space. I'll push you out of the way. When you shift your intent from what you're trying to get to how you can contribute, you are by definition letting go of outcomes. And the effect of that is that you become inwardly gathered. And the degree to which you're inwardly gathered is the degree to which you're not appearing in the world and wanting to be seen in the world. You're actually stepping back and you're allowing things to appear to you. So you're not trying to get stuff, you're allowing things to come to you. You in a sense, you shift from being an actor to being a witness. One who's, and that experience of witnessing, that experience of stepping back and allowing things to come to you, that is a making of space. It's creating the capacity for what is in the other, what is in the world, to appear. You're no longer contending for space, you're making space. And that then creates the condition where you develop perceptive apprehend that what brings to you is far better than what you're trying to pursue for yourself, and the fullness, and so that then it becomes a virtuous cycle. Yes.
Sorry, Sheikh Sab, can you just repeat that again? The line went silent. Right. So just that last bit you just said.
So what I'm suggesting is that experience of stepping back from the world, of becoming inwardly gathered, of not appearing, of allowing the world to appear, that sort of stepping back from the window of perception. That when you let that happen, you start to see that in fact what is coming towards you is better than what you can pursue for yourself. And so your inner experience changes from being a neediness that seeks to be satisfied, an emptiness that wants to be filled, to a fullness of gratitude on the magnificence of what you're experiencing, And that fullness of gratitude, that amazement with what is another way of describing inward intoxication. It is,
Mm.
it's an enchantment with what is, not a neediness for what you want for what is not there, which is what you have when you're trying to appear in the world and trying to get things for yourself.
Good. So I love the metaphor of being like the ambushed predator, a leopard sitting in the tree, inaction, but then explosive action, and then back to inaction. How do you see that?
So people sometimes hear or assume that what I'm describing is a completely passive way of being alive. You know, never stepping into the world, never doing anything. And that's actually not the case at all. That I'm not arguing for inaction. I'm arguing for appropriate action. I mean, if we knew that Allah orchestrates the world in such a way that everything that happens is actually in our interest, then we're not battling against the world, we're working with the world. And if I'm working with the world, then I don't have to do many things, because the world works. So I need to do very small catalytic things. So, but the problem is that we don't do the small catalytic things that unlocks our good fortune. We work too hard. We do too much because we're driven by the assumption that this universe doesn't work. It's all a big mess, and it's up to me to fix it. So as a result, we are constantly striving, working, planning, scheming, and that busyness creates a noise in the head and a noise in our attention. That means we overlook the small catalytic things that we need to do that actually change everything. So we work too hard. We work too hard because we're driven by our neediness. But the moment we quieten our neediness by replacing it with gratitude for what is, it becomes the very small catalytic things that we need to do that actually unlock our good fortune. Those things become apparent to us because they're very often not the things that announce themselves in bold letters. They're subtle by definition. And because they're subtle, it requires some reflectiveness, some inward gatheredness to perceive and to apprehend. So when we see those things, when we see those very small catalytic things, then we behave like, it's not a nice metaphor, but we behave like an ambush predator. It's like we're not like hyenas that are chasing the quarry down. We become like leopards who know that the quarry will arrive at some point. And we're watching for small little changes. And it's all very quiet and unassuming until the exact conditions are right. And then we act. And the act has an eloquence to it. It has a simplicity to it. It is like lightning out, it's like lightning out of the blue, and is immensely effective. So we act less and we achieve more. The degree to which we are inwardly gathered is the degree to which we act less and we achieve more. The degree to which we're outwardly gathered is the degree to which we have to work very hard and we achieve very little. We have a sense of being on like on quicksand or on a treadmill. We're just, all of this effort and very little progress forward. And the reason is that we are pushing ourselves into the world. We're not allowing the world to come to us. Like a leopard allows the quarry to come to him. He doesn't pursue the quarry. And
what happens, Sheikh Saab, when we do the flip side of that?
Well, in other words, when you don't act like, when you don't allow things to come to you, when you go after things.
That's right, yeah. Because a lot of the time we're doing that in life, aren't we? We're always chasing. But rather than being the leopard sitting in the tree.
Yeah.
In action and explosive action, we pursue goals, we pursue things constantly,
Yeah.
giving
No, that's right.
that we're in control.
Well, I mean, so a person who is constantly part their inwardness as an emptiness that seeks to be filled. I'm unhappy, I'm unrequited. If I don't get that thing, this will not be full. To go and get the stuff that I want. And when the degree to which I'm trying to get the stuff that I want, there's a number of implications to that. The one is that the world experiences me as dangerous, precisely because I'm parading myself as the needy one. I'm trying to get. I mean, you'll see. I mean, use a sales example for this, Sajjad Sahib. You've sort of had a business experience. I mean, if you have two people trying to sell you something, the one person is trying to understand how this thing's going to be helpful to you. In other words, how this thing that they're trying to sell will contribute to your life. They're there to give you something. The second person is desperate for the sale, and he'll do anything to get you to who are you likely to buy from? Well, the first person and not the second person. The first person who's actually trying to be helpful to you, that's the person who gets the sale. The person who's trying to get the sale from you is the person who you resist. In fact, you find them creepy, and the whole world works like that. When you engage the world on the basis of what you're trying to get from the world, and resists you. Life, others resist you. And therefore you have to work very, very hard to get very little, because everything that you get comes from other than you. And if you create the conditions where other than you experiences you as a disconcerting piece of work and something to be avoided, you're going to have to work very hard to get the little bit that's assumed, because you're having to expend yourself all the time in pursuit of all of these outcomes you're trying to achieve. Whereas if you know you don't have to get anything, you're not here to get anything, you're here to try and be helpful, and you engage the world from that point of view, then the world experiences as you as its friend, and it becomes your friend. And because every single outcome you're trying to achieve from life comes from other than you is more likely to give you what you want if it's your friend and not your enemy. So if you keep on trying to pursue outcomes, you create a world that's your enemy. You work very hard and you get broken, because that's the problem. You will always be smaller than the world that surrounds you. You can't intimidate this thing. You break yourself going up against this thing. So you either cultivate the world as your benefactor and your ally, or as your enemy. You will not cultivate the world as your benefactor and your ally by trying to get stuff from it. It's just not going to work. It's going to resist you. It's going to break you.
So the way to do it is to be outwardly sober and inwardly intoxicated within that. What you want.
Inwardly intoxicated, absolutely full with gratitude at the magnificence of what you're perceiving and what you're receiving. And that creates a full heart. Not an emptiness that seeks to be filled, but a fullness that empties. When things are presented, you're not asking yourself, what can I get here? But it becomes immediately apparent how I can help. That Allah's putting this in front of me so I can make a contribution. That I'm a fullness that empties.
So we've got to just always have that in the back of our mind in every situation that we're in. We sit within that inward intoxication and being outwardly sober, that we're not this person who's constantly struggling and striving day in, day out. Jazakallah, Shaykh Sahib. That's the conclusion of chapter 17.